Hello, hello, Issa. So happy to see you, Melissa LaPointe and Angelo. Hello, Angelo Gatto. And
So,
we are meeting for a second conversation. And last time we had our conversation afterward, Issa brought up blossom, the word blossom, and we were like, oh, we need to talk about that. We need to, we need to do a conversation about that. And so this conversation is about blossom. This talk is about blossom and blossoming. And so I thought it would be nice, Angelo, if you wanted to start with the Mary Oliver poem.
sure. Yeah, this is a poem by Mary Oliver called Peonies. This morning, the green fists of the peonies are getting ready to break my heart.
Mm,
As the sun rises, as the sun strokes them with his old, buttery fingers, and they open, pools of lace, white and pink, and all day the black ants climb over them, boring their deep and mysterious holes into the curls, craving the sweet sap, taking it away to their dark underground cities. And all day under the shifty wind, as in a dance to the great wedding, the flowers bend their bright bodies and tip their fragrance to the air and rise, their red stems holding all that dampness and recklessness, gladly and lightly. And there it is again, beauty, the brave, the exemplary, blazing open. Do you love this world? Do you cherish your humble and silky life? Do you adore the green grass with its terror beneath? Do you also hurry, half dressed and barefoot, into the garden and softly, and exclaiming of their dearness? Fill your arms with the white and pink flowers, with their honeyed heaviness, their lush trembling, their eagerness to be wild and perfect for a moment before they are nothing forever. That's Peonies by Mary Oliver.
mm.
And she has a question mark. It's interesting. She has a question mark after the word forever at the end.
Oh, that is interesting. Could
Every
you
time I see that,
read for us?
what's that?
Could you read the last line again for us?
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah,
last?
the last part is, do you also hurry half dressed and barefoot into the garden and softly and exclaiming of their darkness, fill your arms with the white and pink flowers, with their honeyed heaviness, their lush trembling, their
Mm.
eagerness to be wild and perfect for a moment before they are nothing forever? But it's more like forever. I don't know, with a
Right.
question mark. It's like, I don't know. Maybe she's asking us to question if it's forever or not, if it's forever or not. So I just find that interesting.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
that the whole poem is
Mm.
evocative,
It is
beautiful.
interesting because then you know how flowers come and go.
Mhm.
They're not forever,
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
but it like instills something in you forever. So it's
Mhm.
like,
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think too that I mean I love that poem and I love her poems because they're just reminders of the miracle of today, like that we have this opportunity. Like today is an opportunity, and it's a day we've never lived before, and it's an
Mm.
experience there's experiences waiting for us. It's like the unknown blessings that are already on their way. Like thank you for the unknown blessings that are already on their way. Um, but I do think of the seed as, like you were talking about earlier, like I think of the seed um, and I think of, what it takes for a seed. A seed has to break before the life can happen. Like it has to be broken. And I think that, once the seed splits open and is broken, then this tender little, out of that shell comes this wonderful, tender little child, you know, plant child. And I think it's like, I think about the beginning of the blossom or the beginning of the birth or the beginning of the opening. Like birth is like that. It's like,
Mm.
you know, it's so dynamic and so intense. And so there's something about like when something is born, when something wants to bloom, there is like, there is a pushing and a opening and for the seed, it's a breaking, and impossible things happen, right? Like what happens for a woman's body when new life is coming into the world is impossible. Like it's impossible for that to happen, but it does, right? And so I think that when I think about it, I think, oh, sometimes we want something to bloom and blossom and open and grow, but it's like we haven't given anything up. We haven't
Mm.
pushed. We haven't, you know, our seed, we're afraid to break our seed open and to burst and
Wow.
the thousands of pieces that's going to allow that sweet, tender child or idea or project or even relationship to really happen, to begin. Like it's like we can't even begin because we haven't gestated something enough to let it break us.
Wow.
That's Angelo. So that's what's showing up for me because the blossom comes from the seed.
Mm. So powerful, Shar. So true.
When you talk about like breaking and you know when I was having Makai, I was like, I had a moment like there's no turning back.
Oh my God.
I think I'm gonna die. Like oh
There's no turning back. I think I'm going to die.
yeah. And then it was just in that split second, it was like it's not just you anymore. You have
Mm.
a dependent that you didn't meet yet, other than the
Yeah.
connection. And like look at us now, Makai and I, we're still blossoming, we're still blooming. But that always that makes me think like that first initial thought of, oh no, I can't turn back. I have to keep going. Oh wait, I might die. And it's like, no, you're not gonna die. Like I had to talk myself
Oh
out of
my
that. And so it makes me think on our situations of when we need to break and to keep moving forward in order to blossom.
Mm.
Because sometimes we fear, and that fear takes over us. And so we just stop
Right.
and we're just stuck in that breaking point.
Mm.
And so we don't even like, you know, that if I didn't have that thought of I'm gonna die or
Mm.
there's no turning back, what would have happened? You know, like my body would have took control.
Yeah.
It would have just done it for me. And
Mhm.
sometimes we have situations of it just happens. It
Mhm.
just happens. And there's nothing we can do other than like flow with it. But sometimes we jump from that, right? We like, I don't want that to happen. So we step back and then sometime down the line, it happens again. And it just keeps happening and happening until we are able to break and then, let the process of blossoming
Mm.
happen.
Hmm. Yeah, I like what you say. It's at the end of the youth rites of passage program that we do here in town when the youth come back and we gather in a circle with the families again, welcoming them back. The first thing that we do is we invite the mothers in the center of the circle, and we honor that they are the first warriors we have contact with in our life, the first really beautiful reflections of a warrior in our life. And it makes me think of how like every flower is a warrior. It like
Right.
it broke, it like, it took that risk. And what you just said also like reminds me that like surrender sometimes is, like you said several times, sometimes it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think how like surrender or allowance can be um, the medicine that births
Mm-hmm.
that blossoming in our life. Like sometimes it's it's decisiveness, and it's a risk that where the body and the mind commit to something and take a risk, and then sometimes it's letting life happen
Yeah.
through us. It feels like is how the blossom can happen also. So
I like this idea of break to blossom. Like, I love that. Like, you know, and maybe it's even like breaking with a pattern, or breaking with our need to control, or breaking with our need to have things be our way or a certain way, or but I really like that idea. And um I mean, I'm thinking of this quote by Anais Nin where it's like, there was a day when remaining tight in a bud was more painful than the risk that it took to blossom. I'm ad-libbing that. I hope it's as accurate or as close as I can get, but it's like the risk it takes to blossom, you know? And right now, I mean, even here, it's very cold. We had some snow, and it's very cold for Seattle. It's, I think, like 21 degrees when I was in my car yesterday, or this morning, actually. And my mom, you guys, my mom and I used to sing this song. I love this song. It's by Bette Midler, but it's like, um, the seed that with the spring's love in the spring
mm,
becomes the rose. But it's like, and it's just like how the it's under the snow. I don't think I have the lyrics right, but it's just like this seed that becomes the rose. Like, and my mom and I used to sing that song together all the time. She used to sing it to me, and then we started singing it together, and we harmonize. And but there's something about that snow is over all those seeds. They're cold, they're underneath that, and they're all going inside to preserve their energy and gestating. And then the spring comes. And I'm just thinking about, oh, well, first we need to gestate. We need silence. We need
mm,
that quiet. We need to go inside. And that is required, or muy necesito. That is necessary for us to be able to come to emerge with
mm,
something new that we haven't yet considered.
mm.
It reminds me of this poem. When we were just preparing, we had our short little preparation. I hope it opens. I have this book, and sometimes I just open it to see what emerges. And I knew we were talking about bloom today, so when we got on, I was like, "Oh, let me open it," and then I opened to this. So, and it's like, oh my gosh. So I wanted to read this during the. There were times when I could not afford to sacrifice the bloom of the present moment to any work, whether of head or of hands. Sometimes in a summer morning, having taken my bath, I sat in my sunny doorway from sunrise until noon, wrapped in a reverie. Amidst the pines and hickories and sumacs, in undisturbed solitude and stillness. While the birds sang around, I grew in these seasons like corn in the night, and they were far better than any work of the hands would have been. They were not time subtracted from my life, but
Hmm.
so much over and above my usual allowance. That's Henry David Thoreau.
Hmm.
And I think that he's making an attempt. I mean, there's lots of opinions about him and what he did and what he didn't do, but because everybody has opinions and you know what they say about opinions, but just but regardless, it's like I see him like trying to return to the cycles and to the seasons and have moments of stillness and
Hmm.
moments of activity. And that's why we have a night. That's why we have a morning, you know. So it's reminding me of those cycles.
You know what keeps coming like forward of the cycles or with the growth or the processing or whatever it is the in-between time of all of that. So,
Mhm.
you know, like with the seasons changing, that takes time, you know. And
Hmm.
then just an example of when I was having Makai, that was I didn't have time to be like, maybe not. You know, like it was like, no, it's happening right now. Hurry up, you know.
You're like, yeah, not a time to be.
So it just makes me think of, you know, the time that we give ourselves. And sometimes we just jump and it works out, you know, for the best,
Yeah.
taking that risk. And so my question is like, do we, at some point, do we just jump?
Mm.
You know, we're scared of that sometimes.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. Do we just take that risk? Do we just like be like,
Yeah.
okay,
Let's do it. Let's let life go as it's coming.
Hmm.
let
Cause then
life go as it's coming.
because then it makes me think too, like if we just sit back and kind of think about how it can go if we do make this jump, if we don't, you know, we're people plan from A to Z, you know? And so if you just flow with it and trust that the universe aligns everything, like
Hmm.
then we're realizing what we're missing out on, you
Mm.
know, by just sitting and contemplating if we want to take that risk or not, or if we want to jump or whatever it is. We're missing out on life.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And I'm like opening to the, like opening to, exactly like opening to life.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think about what's inside the flower and it's just like, and there's a center in the flower and it's opening to the sun, it's opening to warmth and to, it's connecting with all of this nourishment, you
Right.
know, and the atmosphere. And uh, I liked what you said, Issa, in our last talk about how the flowers are different colors, like all they're all different, like every flower is different. And I was just thinking about how we're all flowers, like
Right.
people are like flowers, and you know, and that we all have that opportunity. And I think one of the opportunities is to help one another to bloom or to blossom or to encourage one another's growth or
Right.
to risk encountering one another, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
And from being a flower, that it duplicates. It just keeps going. And so
Ah,
you're a part of the previous flower before you, and you're gonna be part of the flower after you.
mm, mm,
But it also makes me think of how we work together, we collaborate, we move together. Um, but it makes me think of like the sunflowers,
mm,
they all go in rotation with each other. With the
Oh,
sun, they all face the sun as it goes, then it goes down, and then they go, it's a cycle, and it's just beautiful to see that even just the connection that a flower has.
mm,
eh, And they don't have a voice, right? They just have that connection that they bounce off from each other.
mm,
And us as humans, we have that voice.
mm.
mm.
And we sometimes don't rely on each other. Why
Yeah.
not? Why not?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can,
That's a really good question because
yeah,
they're all connected,
yeah,
right? They are all, they're all connected and they're coming from one another, just like we did from our
right.
ancestors. And, and I think, why not? I love what you're saying. Like, why not connect? Or why not? Why aren't we connecting? And, um, because we really need each other, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, they do community really well.
Mhm,
Yeah,
And
they
they've
do.
they've been in this in conjunction with what you're saying, I was thinking about how they've been in this communication with each other and with the environment for
mm,
eons, for
Yeah,
thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, and
right.
um, unlike us, they stay where they are in their lifetime,
Yeah, yeah.
and they learn how to like relate and adapt and survive,
mm,
and I don't know, maybe the colors, maybe the how many petals they have and the colors of their petals and the fragrance they give off, maybe all of that is um, has developed over those hundreds of thousands of years or millions of years so that it can relate perfectly to its environment with the insects and the soil and the
mm,
so they are, I think you're right. I think they're such great teachers for community and how to communicate, how to belong,
mm.
Mhm.
how to be at home in the environment where they are. Yeah.
And just how you said, with like their sense, or, whatever they project off,
Mhm.
they communicate quietly, but it's like a strong connection that they communicate
Mm,
Mhm.
with us, even, not just we're a part of their community,
Yeah.
and they communicate with us. And if
Mm,
we're open to that, we connect with them.
mm,
They depend on us to water them, or,
mm.
just to have them in presence and in our homes for the smell, whatever it is, and
mm.
I'm just taking such copious notes right now. I was like, I just want to remember everything. I mean, I know this is being recorded, but gee, I'm like, oh, wow, amazing. If we're open to them, You know, I think that's so powerful. And I'm thinking about a couple of things. I'm thinking about up in the hills of Leavenworth, where I was um, when I think I was like a teenager. I spent some time up there, up in the it's in Washington, it's the mountains, but and they have like there's like these all these wildflowers, like deer tongue and Indian paintbrush and
Mm.
um, you know, I think they're called
Those.
like glacier lilies and and all of these like blue, they just surface, in this just at this very specific time, and then balsam, and so that all these different blossoms. And sometimes when we were driving through the mountains, the mountain was just completely covered in blossoms, lupin, these beautiful purple lupin flowers. And I also think of, around, on Pine Ridge, around in the hills, the last few years, I think maybe the last 3 years, um, there have been so many flowers.
Mm.
And
The
uh,
echinacea.
Naisha's there. I mean, just incredible. Old man's beard, like all the sage, like it is just like the land is so alive. And I just could sit there for like years and just watch flowers bloom and, seed and bloom and grow and die and, and see bloom and grow and die and bloom and grow, and I think that's like, I just think of all just how natural it is,
Mm.
like what you were saying, Issa, earlier, like nature's in control. I mean, I don't know. That's what I got from what you said. Like, nature is like, I can want to have this baby or not want to have this baby. But this baby is coming. This is not,
Yeah.
this is not optional. Check the box. And I choose A. This is happening. So, and I just think, nature's in control. And I think of all those seeds breaking under the ground, or all those rhizomes, purging and
Mm.
opening, you know, and it's just like the whole earth is like this symphony of aliveness and movement and motion. And so I just think about, and also the disruption that it takes for a seed to enter into the earth herself.
Right.
Like it's a disruption for her. Like when we plant something, or if something is planted, it's like she's opening her body,
Mhm.
her skin, her to receive that. And
Mm.
That makes
Yeah,
me
creating a
sad.
space like a womb. Sorry, so what
Oh,
was that?
it makes me sad to know how vulnerable and open,
mm,
and we don't do our part. I mean, we do to an extent, but everybody's not on the same frequency wave of, protecting, doing what's best.
Mm.
taking care of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, why can't we give back to her, She's so she's so vulnerable and willing.
Mm.
And then it's like, why can't we be so vulnerable and willing in our everyday life, It's like we do to an extent, and I don't know, I think we need to be more open and vulnerable, and I think a lot more blessings and miracles will generate from that. Because even when we are open and vulnerable, we see a ton of blessings and miracles, and but
Mm.
that's not, that might be like 40% of our life,
Mhm.
of our everyday. Maybe not even that. Maybe less than that.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I don't know. That just made me sad to think like that we ain't doing our part,
Right.
only to an extent, as well as we only do an extent for ourselves.
Mm.
But again, we're human, you know,
Mm.
we're human and we make mistakes. But do we learn from those mistakes, you know?
Right. Mhm.
I think about that and how we give people blooms, we give people flowers to honor them, to say I love you, to, whether it's to like a funeral, a wedding, a special day. Sometimes, like a lot of cultures, honor the gods and goddesses
Yeah.
that way. It's all about the flowers, and so it what you said makes me think, oh yeah, like what are the ways that we honor where the flowers came from, where the seeds to the flowers come from, the earth essentially. Like what are the ways that we can do that
Mm.
to say thank you and to thank the source essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And Henry David Thoreau's poem came to me when that was the first thing that came to me when I asked myself that question while you were sharing it. So I was like, oh yeah, I can so relate to that. That one of the most powerful things I can do with my time is just appreciate without like doing, without taking, without, getting busy, just being in gratitude for the songbirds and the blooms and what's happening outside. But yeah, it's a curiosity. How can I give back?
Right.
And I think there's also this idea of, you know, we've been so focused on just one or two relationships in our lives or in our own nuclear family or in with just one partner or, just one group. And that even got more in the pandemic, like just really whittled it down to the bone. But that's been happening for hundreds of years, you know?
Mm,
And so for me, it's just like this idea that in order to be in a community, we have to take care of each other.
Mm.
And, that's something that we see when we dance is
mm,
we take care of each other. I mean, it's life or death. You have to take care of each other, but every day is life or death. Every day
Right.
is a prayer. Every day is that. And so I think about like flowers. I just think about taking care of us. Like, how can we take care of all the flowers? How can we take care of all of us? Take care of all of us flowers. No, I don't know. Just really stretch it. But how do we take care of all the flowers and where are the flowers and how can we be in community and how can we coexist with other flowers? And, you
mm,
know, but I also think, Issa, that there's so much pain in the world. And I think that, and people aren't taking care of each other, right? Like we're not, like instead of having war, why don't we have lunch? This is a really dumb way for me to say this. I was like, why don't we have lunch? Why don't we make dinner and sit down and have a meal together and create a win-win where everybody, all the flowers win. Like, how about
mm,
if I make you a sandwich? How about if I build you a home? How about if you build me a home? How about if we're neighbors? How about if we share?
mm.
So flowers are good at sharing,
Yeah.
and they're ancient and they're strong. They're very, very, anything that blooms is very, very ancient,
Mm.
you know. And I think, of course, delicate and strong. Um, the other thing that's amazing about flowers is the fruit or the seed.
Yeah.
They make a fruit, and usually in the fruit is a seed.
Right.
So I also think of like in the cycle, the harvest, like it goes from this state and then it goes into, oh, so not only do they give us beauty through their color, but they also bear either seeds or they bear fruit. I think about with Rebecca Young invited me to Alaska to do some ceremonies there, um, and we were walking. Oh my gosh, there's an eagle
Mm.
flying, a golden eagle flying in front of the window right now.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Going to Alaska to do
I guess
ceremony and
so.
seed.
I
Something is happening, Shar.
I was like, oh, hello, thank you, thank you. In my culture, we would call that great spirit. So, right? Great spirit. Hi, hello, great spirit, thank you. Or the messenger for creator. So, uh, my mom also taught me that when the eagle comes like that, it means that we're in the right place doing the right thing. So,
Mm, mm,
and all that's very vulnerable. So that is with the vulnerability so that you were sharing also. And so taking care of all of us is what's coming to my mind.
You know what's interesting is that how, what we're talking about, they're so on opposite ends. Like we break, we bloom. We're delicate, we're strong.
Oh yeah.
War, lunch. But then it like makes me think like, are we really are we doing our part? Because we have to have balance.
Right.
There has to be, there has to be.
Well,
I just want to believe that we're doing our part as a being balanced, and that's a part of like all of it coming together. It's like, yeah, they were on two different ends of the spectrum and then in between all of that, we're finding the balance
mm,
and we're being vulnerable of willing to do our part, do better, to be open. And
mm,
so I think we are doing what we're supposed to be doing, you know? So
yeah.
it sounds a little bit um it sounds a little bit like this curiosity around how we can be responsible for our impact,
yeah,
Mm,
live in balance and harmony.
right, right.
Um yeah, and that yeah, you were saying before like 40%, like we might have 40% of our day where we're doing
Right.
that and maybe not even that.
Yeah.
Um I might raise this up to, let's see. And Shar, I'm so curious about that ceremony because the eagle came right when you were talking about that ceremony.
Yeah.
Going to Alaska, I was like, whoa, something's happening.
yes. Oh, I didn't finish my.
You didn't finish. And I didn't mean to cut you off. I was like, wow, the eagle
Oh
came right when you were talking about that.
well, that's amazing. Um, oh yeah, Rebecca. I can barely wait for you to hang out with Rebecca. Yeah, we had a ceremony just a few days ago with her. But I think,
Yeah.
yeah, when she invited me, we went and we were eating uh, rose hips together. So we were picking the different rose hips that we were seeing and eating them together. And what's interesting about rose hips is they're related to the apple, but the little seeds inside are amazing. You can taste like within the fruit is the seed and it's evident.
Mm,
And it's a wonderful crisp a source of vitamin C and many other things too. Um, and then she later gave me some rose hip jelly or jam that she'd made. And so I think that there's something about when I think about the seeds and when I think about the giving back, I'm just
Mm.
curious, like, how do you find yourself giving back, or how do you find yourself honoring the vulnerability of the earth?
Mm.
Well, I need to be better.
Oh my God.
I'm in that category too.
I don't know anyone who isn't in that category. We just gotta try.
Right. But one thing that I've always wanted to like make a tradition, especially for my family, and because we live right off the canyon,
Mm,
I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we can plant more, trees within the
Mm.
canyon? Um, and one of the trees that I want to continue to keep planting is cottonwood trees
mm. Yes.
because we need that.
Yeah.
And if we can find us three right here, if we can find that connection with a cottonwood tree,
Mm,
that gives me hope that the generation down the road is also going to find a connection with that tree. So I've always had that in the back of my mind of, you know, planting a planting cottonwood trees. Um, but I never got around to it. But I'm always so thankful, like when the cotton comes off, because like right next door, a lot of their cotton comes towards our way, and I'm always like, oh, I hope that that little seed will blossom soon.
Mm.
So
Like take root on
mhm,
the land there.
somewhere within like our area of the house and or even the canyons. And
mm,
so, you know, when it's summertime and that all the cotton gets out of hand, it's blowing all over. It's always like I could sit and just watch the trees, and I love the sound that they make. Um, but I do have a connection like with the tree. I'm always thanking them and um praying for that seed to take root somewhere, especially around in our area, in my little housing part, and to duplicate itself. But I could do way more,
mm.
Mm.
and maybe that's even just offering tobacco outside, especially to the canyon now, to the trees. They're trying to find life again,
Mm.
and I see it, but how can I help them? And we all know prayer is powerful. We've seen it work in all kinds of different ways of happening. So
Mm.
can I keep offering prayer for them?
Mm.
Can I, set out tobacco for them? Um, Even just strengthening my connection
Mhm.
with Mother Nature.
Building the relationship.
Yeah. Because, like when it's full moon, I acknowledge the moon anytime I'm outside. I'm out, just whatever phase of the moon that it's in, I acknowledge.
Mm.
Um, I always acknowledge the sun, but I don't do it majority of my time. But I do it at least once a day.
Oh.
But, but how powerful could it be to do that more, because we step foot outside how many times, like
Right.
make it a habit.
Hmm.
And where I live, I'm able to see the stars and have an amazing sky at nighttime. And
Mm.
even that, the stars, it's so like, it's just a whole nother world out there. And I could just get lost in just looking at all the different, where each star is,
Mm.
where it's at. I even remember, like, if I'm not only do I look at the stars here at my house, but when I have to go and be on the hill, like I watch the sky as I'm like, I think I have so many more hours till it's
Before the
daylight.
sun comes up, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just the connection. And I can remember, like, oh, those stars right there, like it takes me back to certain places,
Yes.
of
Yes.
having that connection. And so it's like building that connection.
Yeah.
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 Hmm. Yeah, there's a star that happens like about 3 hours before daybreak. Maybe four. And when that comes into view, I'm like, okay.
I'm almost there.
We're almost to daybreak. Yeah. So it's so exciting. I mean, not that I'm like not focused on my prayer or anything,
Right. Right.
but yeah, that's so true. The connection, interacting. I love that, Issa. And Angela, what about you? The vulnerability of the earth and interacting in that way.
Well, I definitely think being present, paying attention, and listening are underrated. um, you know, I guess like there are all of those arms of love and
Oh yeah.
that build healthy relationship, and like David Riccio has his 5 A's of healthy relationships: affection, attention, allowance, appreciation, acceptance. And I find that a lot of those are great ways of relating to nature
Mhm.
and um, developing a healthy relationship.
Right.
And I like when I go for a walk sometimes with my gratitude, I will
Mm.
acknowledge all of the plants and the trees by name, kind of like how I might with my ancestors, like saying their names is really powerful. And I find that saying the names of the plants with gratitude can be a powerful
I bet they
practice also.
love that.
Yeah. So like essentially whatever works with people,
Yeah.
of
And
building healthy relationships. I see that there's some way to practice that with plants and with nature. So yeah.
Mm.
And I'll bring gifts sometimes, like the water, the ocean is a big teacher of mine. So I'll bring my teacher an apple sometimes.
Yeah.
Before I go in, I'll offer a gift, an offering, uh,
mm,
and wait for permission. I'll ask for permission before sometimes I interact, or if I'm going to have an experience with the water. I wait till I feel like welcomed.
Mm.
So yeah.
I think that once we strengthen the connection,
Mhm.
it also strengthens your connection like within too.
Mhm.
I found that to be true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
extra, even with like, oh my gosh, an eagle is flying over us, on our Zoom call, like that connection, that the divine, the mystery, the sacred is saying, oh, we're watching you.
Right.
There's surveillance on this sacred thing in a good way.
There's surveillance.
I want that surveillance.
In a
Great
good
Spirit is letting us know you're being surveilled. No, it's true. Yeah,
It
it's
it it is, it's true. I make a joke about, having like wanting that bald eagle to be my surveillance, but then it's like I have so many owls outside that are, my
Oh,
watch
yeah.
guard.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
amazing.
amazing. And I
oh.
think just not only that too, it's like I always like question, people that may listen, or because I have friends and family that listen, and
Mm.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, because we're vulnerable right now, right? And we're sharing a part of who we are with the whole world. And it's I really think that sometimes we get judgmental, like, and so then we don't want to like share a part of that, like the ego being our surveillance and just being like blessed by it. Yeah, it's like just welcome all of that. It
Mm.
makes life so much more fun, and it makes it just spontaneous.
Mm.
And that's what life's about, just to be in the moment and to have fun and just to enjoy it.
Mm.
Because like we wake up, right? We made it to today. And we want to make it till tonight.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's like make the best of it. Because we don't know when it's our time. We have no clue.
Mhm.
We have no clue. So, just make the best of it. And even for me, as I'm talking, I'm like, I don't have to feel so stressed or, just over the smallest things. It's
Yeah,
like,
let's make a good lunch, not
yeah,
war.
yeah, yeah.
That's a t-shirt.
It is. And even break to bloom is another good t-shirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so true. I'm writing it down. Make
You
lunch.
know how much cool merch we would have
Oh
by
man, we got to get started.
if anybody's listening out there,
Yeah,
that
help
you
us
have a
get.
clothing line, we have no idea.
We got some stuff. We got some
Yeah.
for a break to bloom. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's great. Beautiful. So I think if there's any like closing thoughts that you have, or oh, it's begun to snow. Oh, that's beautiful. If there's any closing thoughts that you have for anyone, especially around, any ideas that you might have for them, to just ideas as ways to contribute, because sometimes it's hard to find ways to contribute to the earth and to honor her vulnerability. And um,
Mm.
I'm thinking about, that it's snowing, and so that lets us know that, it's time to rest,
Mm.
and it's time to, the snow is very quiet, and it's time for silence and going inside, and it's time for gestation for the seed. So
Mm.
reflection is what I would like to offer.
Mm.
I think allowing more openness and vulnerability, like throughout your day.
Mm.
Because we can grow so much better in just allowing that,
Mm.
and just, being present and allowing life to be our journey, what
Mm.
it's supposed to be for us.
Mm. What's coming to me is Amachi talks about how when we love ourselves, um, making changes, it's like it just comes naturally when we try to change from a place that isn't that doesn't revolve around like real love. It's like lifting 1,000 pound weight.
Oh, wow.
So that when we do something out of love, there's no weight. It just comes naturally. And so what comes to me is just like taking good care of ourselves. That if we perhaps learn how to take good care of ourselves and value our life, that we will naturally value all of life.
Right.
Mm.
It's
So
beautiful.
take good care of yourselves and each other.
Yeah.
Let's take good care of all us flowers.
All of us flowers. Yes. Another
Oh,
t-shirt.
oh,
Another t-shirt.
yay. Thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you next week. Bye. Let us know
Oh,
your thoughts about blooming and your experience in the comments below.